This week on Women Who Rise, I'm joined by Robert Colello, top San Diego real estate leader, referral business builder, and a powerful voice on resilience, relationships, and rising through adversity. Robert has built his business by rejecting the transactional model and leaning all the way into service, trust, and long game leadership. In this episode, we talk about what it means to rebuild, how real growth is earned through consistency and character, and why the people you surround yourself with can shape your entire trajectory. This is a conversation for the woman who wants to build something powerful, meaningful, and sustainable, and deeply aligned with who she is. Stay tuned. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Women Who Rise. I'm your host, Heather Mansy. Today, I'm joined by Robert Colello, a top San Diego real estate leader with eXp Realty and the founder of Robert Colello and Associates, a business built largely through referrals, relationships, and white glove client care. Robert is known for creating a high-touch, customer-centered model, for his strength in negotiations, and for building a standout business after navigating serious personal and professional adversity. His story is one of resilience, reinvention, and the kind of leadership that values people over transactions. I'm excited for this conversation because Robert brings a powerful perspective on growth, grit, and what it really takes to build a business that lasts. Robert, welcome to the show.
Well, Heather, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
We are so excited to have you. And by the way, before we start on one of the main questions, I just wanted to help you celebrate one of your bona fides. I saw that in Real Trends. Tell me if I'm wrong or correct me, but I believe your team was actually number 52 in all of your wider area. Can you tell me a little bit about that? And I'd really love to know how your success as an agent led to this incredible performance as a team.
You know what? Thank you so much. Yeah. So Real Trend, as you know, rates teams and agents all over the country. And there's 23,000 active or agents with license here in San Diego. 14,000, around 700 of them are active with license. And last year we were rated 52 in San Diego. And I always say this, the dream work is in the teamwork. No one gets to where they are by themselves. If you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go together. So I have a wonderful team of 7, which I couldn't be where I am without them. We don't have anybody in my team who is an employee. Everybody is talent, because I really believe, I heard this from a podcast a long time ago, that you want to bring talent into your life that is more talented in areas where you are not, to make up the difference between the stopgap between where you're not great at, like your 80%. And then you take all that talent, keep you in your 20%, and you deliver an amazing experience to your client. So I have my beautiful wife, who's my director of business development. We have Gabby, who is our lead admin. My son, Angelo, who just joined our team this year, is 20. He helps support the admin. He does care calls and outreach to our clients. We have 2 showing specialists. We have a digital marketer, a TC, and our main goal is really simple. Peeps, to be productive, efficient, effective, profitable, underlined with selfless. That is our core values. And we always say the profitability has 3 wins. The client must win, we must win, and we both must win. So we look through everything under that lens to give people white glove service.
I absolutely love it. And boy, you just dropped so many wisdom bombs on us. I love it. Because really this is an incredible, example of what tried and true progress and leadership are. Because basically, you're showing us that from the top down, you have a really firm grasp of leadership, you have systems, you have mottos, you have a plan. And when people are plugged into a system like that, only success is going to be able to occur. And this is so much of, I think, why we have the show, and just the fact that we want to have leaders like you on, because each person is going to have a different recipe for what perhaps a team looks like in real estate, or, an ice cream shop is going to look like. But the fact is, there's a takeaway we can get from every single person. Now, I want to go back a little bit now and talk about, you've said that in the beginning, your business is relationship based, not transaction based. And so when you think back to your earliest work or life experiences, what first taught you that maybe people, not deals, would become the foundation of how you would later build your business?
I love that question, Heather. That is so easy for me to answer. That goes back to my father when I was a young man, and not even a man, a little boy. And he told me, Robert,
Yeah.
my dad owned one of the largest finance companies in the Northeast. It did $1 billion in business a year during its heydays. And my dad didn't have an MBA. He didn't have a college degree. He dropped out of college and is a sophomore when my mom got pregnant with me and they were dating. And that boosted him into sales. And he told me as a young man, he said, Robert, do you realize there's two different kind of salespeople? There's someone with commission breath, and there's somebody that serves their clients so well that the essence of a job well done is the commission check. He goes, Robert, it's like this. As a young man, you're going to start wearing cologne. When I take you to go pick up your girlfriend in seventh grade for your little dance, her parents are probably going to smell you when you're walking up the driveway because you don't know how to put it on. You put too much on. He goes, but when you become a 40-year-old man, cologne no longer leads in front of you. It actually follows behind you and it just frames your outfit. So it's the essence when you walk by. It doesn't overwhelm somebody. And he goes, and that's what commissions are. He goes, when you serve your client at a high level and you educate them and you create a relationship, the essence of that job, when it's done, you will be paid for the service that you rendered. And I never forgot that as a young man, that people were relationships were value, and value was given within the relationship. You would receive compensation, but you didn't go into a relationship leading with compensation. You went into a relationship to educate and to befriend. And then that was the natural end to it. So it helped set me up decades later very handsomely in the way I run my business.
Absolutely love that. And yeah, so much wisdom, and what a beautiful way that your father explained that to you. What an amazing visualization there. And just the fact that he could let you understand that from that early age on, not only would there be, this concept of sales and true value, but that also that you were someone who was going to be learning over time, and that you were going to be perfecting certain skills from sales, putting on cologne to sales, that those were things that were going to be an evolution of you as a human over time, just kind of giving you the ease to know you don't have to master everything already at that young age. Your story includes moving across the country, starting over with zero contacts, and rebuilding more than once, both in business and then again in your early years, with, as you call it, the 3Ds. Was there a specific moment, or could you outline a few of them for us, when you realized that you weren't just trying to survive, you were being shaped into the kind of leader that you would later become yourself to know?
That's a great question. Heather, when I first got into real estate, my career started in Miami Beach, Florida. I went to Miami Beach at 19 years old to attend drug rehab, not college, rehab. I spent 4.5 months in an inpatient drug rehab. When I got out at 19 years old, I became a professional salesperson. I tried timeshare, wasn't a good fit for me. I It was not what my dad said. It wasn't about relationship. It wasn't about, education. It was kind of forcing people into things, and it just was not a good fit for me. But then it led me into consulting,
Yes.
and it led me into telecommunications, where I ran 3 divisions for the largest privately owned telecom company from the age of around 22 to 24. And then it brought me into an advisor role where I was helping businesses understand where they had deficiencies, and we would sell and help them become more efficient, which then led me into real estate. And what I realized along the way is I learned how to present on the phone. I learned how to present in person. I learned how to present value. I learned how to be strategic. And it's like everything that I was doing actually built on where I am now. So when I got into real estate in 2005 in Miami, I never forgot it. Gold Coast is where I was taking my education. And I remember it was like month 3 or month 2, and it was like a 3 or 4 month program. They said it's going to take 9 months to sell your first house. So make sure you have a reserve. Now, at that time, I went from being super successful in business to living on my equity line because I came out of a cushy corporate job and now I'm in real estate. And I'm like, hold on, I don't know if I have 9 months. And I'm like, my gosh, I wish they would have told us at the beginning of the class. But I'm so type A. I'm a hard
Yeah.
driven person. And I'm like, hey, I made it this far. I'm going to see what I can do. And I got into following a coach. And it makes a difference, right? I remember Tony Robbins at 22 years old, when I'm sitting on my couch, he said something I never forgot when I was watching an infomercial. If you want to go further, faster, stand on the shoulder of giants. And I hope everybody that's listening heard what I said, because by being part of
Yes.
Women Who Rise, you are literally getting to stand on the shoulders of giants every episode, every engagement. And what does that mean? It's not that we're better than, it's actually that we literally can tell you, don't go that way because I tried that and it didn't work. This worked, and we can help compress time as coaches have done for me for years. So I did not take 9 months to sell my first home. I actually sold 11 homes in my first 90 days. I was 26 years old, and none of the people that I knew would trust me at first with their real estate, because my wife is 7 years older than me. So all of her friends' husbands and them, they were like my dad's age. And I was the young guy that they're like, we love you, Robert, but this is, real estate expensive. And I literally got on the phone and called 4 owners and expireds. Then it gave me the fortitude to say, hey, I want to move from Miami and I want to go back home to New York where I'm from. I didn't take in consideration the cold climate wouldn't be a good fit for my family after living in Southern Florida. We went up there. It didn't work out the way that we wanted it to. We moved from Florida to San Diego. Moved from New York to San Diego after I attended a Mike Ferry event. And I was like, this is amazing. It was '07. I was California dreaming. And I said, we're going to move here, when I called my wife from the Hertz rental car place when I picked up the rental car, because she wanted to get out of Rochester, and said, would you consider San Diego? She used to run Latin America and the Caribbean for GTE. So she had some clients here, and I loved it right away. And she's like, well, slow down a little bit, give it a few days. And every day just reinforced this is where God wanted us. So we moved here in April of '07. If anybody remembers what was happening in April '07, it was the beginning of the worst real estate crash in U.S. history. And I literally was new in the business, and I'm coming into a market not knowing anybody, and I'm listing properties right away. Matter of fact, I started doing business officially in June of '07. I had my first escrow July 3rd of '07. I remember sitting in La Jolla Beach with my family, negotiating the deal, and it was the day before 4th of July. And I'm like, here we go again. I'm off to the races. Little did I know the short sales would kick in, and I would list 3 to 6 homes every month, and they would be, take 90 days to 9 months to sell, which doesn't help pay your 30-day bills. And what I had to make a decision was really simple. Am I going to do what I learned in Think and Grow Rich? Am I going to burn the ships? Or am I going to go back to the corporate handcuffs that I chose not to be part of anymore? And it put me actually in bankruptcy in 2008, because we had, as Zig Ziglar said, we had more bills at the end of our money than we had money at the time. And I thought we came here with a huge reserve, and it was a 6-month to 9-month reserve. I thought it'd be plenty, and it was not. So what I said to myself every morning when I woke up is I'd say, it says in the Bible that, Jesus will renew every day, right? I literally looked at myself in the mirror and said, today's a new day. You got this, kid. Just go at it. And I just had to fall in love with the process and not the results. I knew if I did the right things every day, I would eventually end up in the right spot. And I had to design a picture of what my future was going to look like for my family. And that future picture was compelling me to get through the adversity, get through the tough times, and make sure that every day I got up and did what I needed to do, knowing that I wasn't going to get instant gratification, knowing that I was fighting a battle every day. But I heard this best quoted from one of my coaches back then: do not let your fears, insecurity, and confusion get in the way of your dreams, and most importantly, the dreams of your family. And there was a lot of that going on, if I have to be truthful with you, during that time, because there was a lot of uncertainty. I had 3 kids under the age of 6, and my wife was pregnant with our 4th, and I just been hastened into the worst market in U.S. history. So there was a lot going on there, but you know what? You're forged in fire. It says in the Bible that the refiner's fire is one of the hardest things you're going to go through, but when you get to the other side, all the impurities have been burned off. And that's what I found for me. Made me a stronger businessman, a more compassionate person with our clients, a great salesperson, and someone that could handle the success and steward what God has given me at a very high level.
Fantastic. And, just the fact that you're starting your origin story really, is that you were at the beginning of the Great Recession. The fact that, like you said, it forged you through something that was quite a bit more difficult than most or any real estate agents would have seen in perhaps 100 years. I mean, it was an extraordinary time, and not in a good way for real estate. You've spoken from a place of real adversity, personally and professionally, in the hardest season of rebuilding, as you just did. What mindset, other than what we've discussed so far, helped keep you moving when the external evidence may not have matched that vision yet? And I'm talking, even years into it, because a lot of people still left the industry in '08 and '09 and 2010. So this was a long evolution, and certainly you would have found some tools and ways to get by. But in addition, you must have had still quite a few tough days.
Absolutely. So it really came down to the fact of having a compelling why. I didn't come out here to do anything but create a real estate business. And when that came to be tested was 2012. So starting out April of '07, my first year in business, I did 81,000 in GCI. I did 92,000, 93,000 the second year in GCI. I did 100,000 in the third year in GCI. And then, now mind it, the median price of a home went from 575 when I moved out here to 340,000. And then I decided to go
Yeah.
all referral based. And my business went from 100,000, which I remember when my CPA said, "Robert, congratulations, you broke 6 figures." I'm like, okay, the only thing I relate to in that sentence is broke. That's what I feel like, with 6 people depending on 100,000 in San Diego. I decided to move from a prospecting based business to a referral based business, because I've always kept a business plan, always tracked my numbers, always reviewed them, and always made a business plan going into the next year in the fourth quarter. And I wanted to see every year, where's my business coming from? And I had this hallucination: what happens if I could manage a few relationships that could bring me 5 or 10 deals a piece, versus chasing people that didn't know me, didn't like me, didn't trust me, having to spend 30 to 40 days getting them to know me, like me, and trust me. And back then, the market's average market time was 110 days. My average market time was 36. So I was giving them the results,
Wow.
and I just couldn't outproduce what was coming back to me. So I remember when the business went down from 100,000 down to 73,000. And I remember feeling like, whoa. And at that time, I got an opportunity to get into commercial insurance. I got an offer to make over $200,000 a year, guaranteed for 2 years. They said with my skill set, I'd make 500,000 to $1 million a year within 5 years, every year, 87% re-sign rate. And they were going to move me to Orange County. Once again, my father came into the picture. I called my dad up and I said, "Dad, this is the deal. This is what they're offering." I go, "I want to negotiate a good contract with them for lost opportunity in real estate. If I take their opportunity and the real estate market, takes off, all the sweat, blood, and tears for the last, 4 or 5 years I put in." And my dad said to me, "Robert, don't take that opportunity, because it's not an opportunity." I said, "What?" He goes, "Robert, did you go all the way across the country, leave your family?" And I come from a tight Italian family. "Bring your pregnant wife and your 3 kids to San Diego to start an insurance company or real estate company? And I said, Dad, a real estate company. He goes, son, anybody that's going to pay you $200,000 salary guaranteed for 2 years, give you a coach, give you a mentor, they're going to expect a few things from you, like a ton of work, and they're going to own you. And I remember he said, Robert, so you got to ask yourself something. Are you being lazy and not working hard, or are you being impatient? He goes, I could answer the question for you, son. He goes, you're working every day. You're grinding. You're doing what you need to do. You're in a very tough market. He goes, so I believe that it's the second question. I think you're being impatient. And I go, wow. He goes, Robert, you can do much better than that in real estate. And like I said, you didn't come to reroute your family again. And I remember thinking to my dad, thank you so much. And there was a quote that kept coming up in my head during this offer that this insurance company gave me. And it's my favorite quote of all time. With my dyslexia, I often will remember things maybe a little different than what they said. And I thought it was a quote I read, but I
Yeah.
actually converted this quote into my own quote. And the quote was this: on the doorstep of victory bleaches the countless bones of those that waiting to rest and resting die. And I just remember being haunted by that quote in my head. Like, I feel like I'm almost at a breakthrough, but I am tired. But you
Yeah.
know what? When you run a marathon,
Yeah.
you're tired too. And I do know if you stop at mile 22 thinking you're going to get your wind, you're not getting back up. So when my dad said that, he was like that person running aside me, giving me the Gatorade, pushing me towards the finish line. And you know what happened that very next quarter? I did $124,000 in GCI. I finished that year out at 304,000. I did 468 the next year, 600 the next year, 800, and I eventually broke $1 million in GCI, which I've done many times. I've had months where I've done 400 and something thousand in a month in GCI. And I don't say it to impress you, but just to impress upon you, can you imagine how many people were on the doorstep of their victory and they didn't continue to see the
Yeah.
dream through? And that was what was waiting for them on the other side, and they settled for less. And that would have been me, no different than anybody else. Fortunately, I had my father in my ear. And it was funny because I said to my dad that day, I go, Dad, you know I borrowed $5,000 from you last month, right? He goes, I know, and you owe me that money. Make sure you pay me back. He goes, but I believe in you, son, and I believe you believe in yourself. Keep moving forward. And I never forget that.
Oh my goodness, so much good stuff there. And just the fact that, I made a note of like your dad equals coach, because I really think that you had someone that was an extraordinary coach for you, knew you 100%, and also understood the path of a salesperson, understood the path of a business. What incredible wisdom and what fortune you have had to be able to have someone with such wisdom, raising you. And just incredible when you mentioned, are you being impatient? And when you think, how many times are we going to have difficult times, especially if you're up against something, if you're trying something new, if you're reaching out above and beyond your comfort zone. And a lot of people are not going to have that maybe in just a 9 to 5 job. But once they start trying to reach into management, or once they start becoming perhaps an entrepreneur or looking about one of those things, they're going to find that they're probably going to have times of great trial, and it's going to be something that you need to buckle down and work hard, as your father had said, and also have the patience to see it through. And it is patience, right? Because when things are not fun, and when they're not working your way, and grass is greener over there, it's easy to just cut and run and go do that other thing. So I love that, just really the reminder that patience is, I think, another superpower that we need to be able to have, to be able to then see what incredible great returns you had right around the corner, that you just needed to stay the course, and trust your plan, and yourself. I wanted to talk about building a business where white glove service and seeing things through to completion or core values, what daily disciplines or personal standards have helped you stay that consistent as your business scaled, as you just mentioned?
Yeah. So you have to keep to the basics as you're scaling. I heard this just the other day, right? I was listening to an audiobook, which I'm always listening to audiobooks. And they said usually there's a great book by Dan Martell, Buy Your Time Back. And what Dan talks about
Oh, yeah.
is when an entrepreneur breaks through and now they're seven figures or they're doing great, they usually do a couple things. Either they can keep the course, a lot of them get distracted and try to do a bunch of different things and they get away from what got them there, right? Instead of replacing what they're not great at, buying their time to work back on what they're great at. And that's been a key for me. Like my showing specialist, for example, Gary Keller, when I was at or at Keller Williams, I had the honor of being in his top 100 mastermind. This is the top 100 agents in the company. I was mentored by Gary for 3-4 years. And what first started was an email from him to interview me to the group. I talked to his assistant, Mindy, and they were asking me how I ran my business because I was doing BREs since day one. I've been doing BREs for 21 years. I just was real clear
Yeah.
about this. I'm not an unpaid taxi cab driver or free tour guide. Standards and process have been something I've been ridiculously fanatical about since day one and have never changed. Matter of fact, when I was about to go into that bankruptcy, when I was in the middle of it, there was a gentleman that came to my office with $2 million in cash in a briefcase, wanted me to go out and take him to look at properties, but there was one problem. You know what it was, Heather?
No contract.
He wouldn't sign that contract. I wouldn't leave. And he says, "You're never going to make it in this town." I said, "Okay." Well, fast forward, because of those standards, it put me in a best-selling book called Your First Home. I was interviewed in front of 47,000 people because what they could see there was the time that someone signed a contract with me to the time they went into escrow was 4 to 14 days. And I would close 97% of our deals, so on and so forth. That doesn't happen out of happenstance. That happens from following, making sure you fall in love with mastering your scripts and dialogue, making sure you follow up with your clients, making sure that every day you're making your phone calls, every day you're making them, whether you're calling around just listed, just sold, for sale by owners expired, your database, you need to make sure that that's the first thing you do in the day. I still do that. I don't, you can ask my wife, you can ask anybody on my team. If you try to get in my schedule between 9 and 12, unless like a big emergency, they know that's a safeguarded time because that's the time I'm creating freedom and leverage for my family, for my team, bringing oxygen to the business, as Ken Cunningham said, which is called money. No business ever goes out of
Yeah.
business for having too much money. No person ever suffocates for having too much oxygen. So that's how we produce the oxygen. That's how we rev the pump. As Zig Ziglar says, you got to keep cranking. So just anybody that's listening that's new, you might be in that right now, pump, 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 trying to get the water pressure so you get the suction so the water will come out of one of those old fashioned hand tills. But just know that if you keep doing it, it is a proven science. It will create the suction you need. Prospecting will create the leads you need to go on the appointments, to convert them to clients, then to convert them to close in happy deals. But this is the deal. If all you do is look at them as a transaction, then you're just getting a paycheck. Wealthy people don't live on paychecks, they live on dividends. Think about that, dividends. They invest in things that keep investing back in them. So what I have chosen to do is invest in relationships like the Hicks. Just a few months ago, I went to a restaurant to celebrate the 14th
Yes.
transaction I've had with them since 2016. So it's sticking to the basics, taking care of people, and making sure that, you said something earlier before we went live that our kids are watching us. Our kids are seeing how we act. Guess what?
Yes.
Everybody around you is watching you. More is caught than taught.
Yes. Yeah. Such a good point. And it's, as you say, do as I do, not as I say. We want it to be the opposite, but we are models for everyone around us. And you have shown such consistency and such leadership. And I love that you gave the experience of the guy with the $2 million briefcase of cash, because that's really the thing. Number one, having the standard that way back before the law required it, you said, I need a contract that I'm not just going to drive around with you, and then you change your mind or whatever. We're making a commitment to each other and we're going to work together. I will give you all these great service, but you need to also commit to me as a client. We are not Burger King, and also the fact that just recognizing, you have the opportunity as well to be able to make those calls, do the basics. Every coach in the business will say, do the basics, do the basics. We've come through such a difficult last, say, 2.5, 3.5 years in real estate. And they can say maybe one of the more challenging in 30 years or what have you, other than the Great Recession. And I'm sure, like you said, to this day, 9 to 12 is that protected calling time. And I think across any and all industries in business, every business has its version of how on earth do you, raise money? How do you wake up to having a job again tomorrow? And it's got to be something about where are you finding that next customer. So I want to talk for a moment
Heather,
in a
Heather,
business built on, yeah,
oh, I was just going to say it's about knowing your numbers, right? If you know your numbers, the path's in the math, right? And I remember early on, I figured out with my coach, right, that I was getting paid around $316 to $20 an hour for the calls I was making. Then it went up to 476. Then when I got interviewed with Gary Keller in 2020, 21 during the COVID time frame, I remember running all my numbers again with my coach, and my coach goes, "You know what your wage is?" And I go, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, it's 417." And I go, "Oh, I'm down. How am I down?" He goes, "No, Robert, it's not $417 an hour. It's $417 for every phone call that you make, whether you leave a message or talk to somebody." And I was like, "Wow, how did you figure that?" He goes, "Because I have all your numbers and how many calls you made. I have obviously your GCI and I divided it." He goes, "So you're getting paid $417 for picking up the phone and leaving a voicemail." Guys, that did not happen back in 2005. That happened because I got totally clear with being okay with repetitious boredom and getting the 10,000 rule in that I'm doing the reps, I'm doing the reps, I'm doing the reps. Now, when I go on appointments, like I have a 98% close ratio on appointments. If I go, I don't worry about contracts getting signed anymore. It's always the same thing.
right.
Am I willing to say the hard
Yeah.
things that when I get there, I have in my belly that I need to say to them and get them to sign? Because
Yeah.
the deal is this: when they sign the contract, they're agreeing with the rules of engagement, right? So therefore, I now have architected a business, and anybody who's listening to this that's been in the business for a while, that maybe is in the middle of this upswing and they're not quite where they want to be yet, or maybe you are economically where you want to be. Maybe your team looks like you want it to look. Maybe it's like what you imagine, but it's not what you want. Wrote that down. Maybe it's what you imagine, but not what you want. I'm going to challenge you right now to do
Yeah.
this. Think of any area in your business you're not happy with and think, what would make me happy? Who can I delegate it to? Does it need to be dumped? Or what's left for me to do should only be the 20%. I had my best year ever when I first broke 7 figures is when I stopped meeting with clients on Mondays and Fridays. And I only would meet with clients in the afternoon my whole career, but then I shrunk the window down to 3:30 to 5. And my income went up and my days went down and the hours I'd meet with them went down because I realized I was putting myself in a pressure pot all the time with back to back to back to back. And I listened to a Greg Rashal leadership podcast, and he talked about the cadence of his week. And he talked about the whole week leads up to the message from the pulpit. When he gets in the office on Monday, he's burnt. He's tired. He's not making any decisions. He's receiving information in meetings. He's just there as a listener. He's not giving input or decisions. And it made me realize, like, that's like what I heard a long time ago about the rest run cycle. I just realized I've been running the whole
Yeah.
time and not resting. So I started changing those things. So you
Yeah.
might find yourself there right now. To get to the next level, you can't keep doing what you're doing. You need to reflect on what's got you where you are and then make the right course corrections to get you to the next level.
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, so good. I wanted to ask you, in a business built on referrals and relationships, how do you protect your personal well-being? And this will probably segue really well off of what you just discussed, while still showing up with that same level of care, responsiveness, and excellence for so many people.
So I want you to start thinking about, as I took on adoption of, when I go on appointments, I'm literally just expressing the rules of engagement. I'm setting a table, and that table I'm going to eat from for the whole transaction and the whole relationship. That table is going to set expectations of what's to come. It's going to set expectations of how we operate. And it's going to be a reminder, a placeholder in the brain of the seller or buyer that you can go back to an itch and remind them. So when they're getting emotionally hijacked in a transaction, or they're wanting to go in a certain way that's not going to be good for them, you're going to remind them of what you said at the presentation. See, I think most people go into presentations to win the contract. I go into presentations to
Yeah.
set expectations and standards.
Yeah.
I don't go in to win the contract.
Yes.
I'm literally setting
Yes.
expectations and standards. I have a framework that I follow. I have a beginning ask to make sure I understand this really clear. I want to understand where they're coming from before I want them to understand where I'm taking them. Where are they scared? What are they worried about? And I get this all out front. Then I'm able to address all of their concerns. Then I will ask them, what would it look like if everything was perfect? And I want to make sure that's realistic. Then I move on to the marketing. Then I move on to the comps. Then I move on to contract. I move on, because if someone has blinders on, Heather, they can't see anything. No matter how great my service,
Yes.
even though we get 5 to 8% more than the average realtor, our time average days are 6 days on the market. We do all these great things. Their insecurities or fear will get in the way. So what I have done is make sure that my standards are just ridiculous as far as being the same with everybody. And I also explain to them, okay, for my sanity, one of the standards is between Monday and Thursday, you're not going to be speaking to me. You're going to speak to my assistant and transaction coordinator. If you need anything from me, I have a window in my schedule between 2 and 3 every day for clients. If it's administrative, that's who you'll be speaking to. If it is a negotiating point, then I will be available, because that is the highest and best use of the time that you're hiring me for, is to negotiate contracts. It's not to order signs, photography, to do the contracts. That is, I always joke around with my dyslexia with my clients. I get paid to sell, not spell. I will dot the T's and cross the I's. You want me out of the kitchen? I can't tell you how many times I've answered the phone to my own office and a client says, "Hey, Robert, what are you doing to answer the phone? I'm not looking for him. I'm looking for your assistant. I'm looking for so-and-so." And they're excited. You know what I mean? Like, I express that in the listing appointment with them. I express that in the buyer's appointment with them. And now they understand that's the rule of engagement. And I will call you on Friday to do Friday update call. I'm going to make sure our team's treating you well. I'm going to let you know where we are and where we're going. And I'm going to ask you for referrals. And it's going to be a check-in point. And they're totally okay with that. And then on the weekends, I let them know this too. It's very important, guys. If you don't set a standard, if anybody's ever heard of setting a boundary, there's a good book called Boundaries. If you don't set that with your clients, they're going to walk all over it, because I love Josh Altman's is charisma. I love the Millionaire Real Estate, their show. It's cool. It's entertaining, but the whole line about being 24/7, don't ever tell your client that. Don't ever tell your client that, because this is what's going to end up happening. You're going to tell your client that, and you're going to see the phone ring on your daughter's 3rd birthday party. And you're going to say, "Well, I told this this owner 24/7. And then you're going to say, "Well, she's going to have at least 15 more birthday parties with me. It'll only take a few minutes." And then before you know it, your memory of your daughter's birthday party is in the corner from a distance, watching it happen in front of you while you're talking on the phone with your client. What I do within our framework is I just let them know, listen, our team, this is a doctor-nurse arrangement, a pilot, airline steward. Meaning, if I get out of the cockpit as a pilot and start fluffing your pillows and eating peanuts with you, would you be worried? You'd be totally worried. I remember when Nolan first told me that, Noli, I was like, that's genius. And I say, listen, if you go to your
Yes.
neurologist to get surgery and they start taking your vitals, like, is that the right person? See, this is the deal. You're hiring me to get you the most amount of money in the least amount of time without the least amount of effort.
Yes.
And you're not hiring me to be on the phone 24/7 with you, because I could be on the phone with the buyers and sellers, which leads me to my last point. When I'm in the listing appointment,
Yeah.
I tell them this. I told them back then, we have a 8:30 to 5:30 schedule. And if you call us after that, we probably will not answer the phone, right? We might not get back to you until the following business day, because we do this all the time. You do this every 5 to 10 years. If we were up until 10 or 11 o'clock every night, we would be no good for you or our family. We'd burn out. I go, but don't be surprised if we chime in on a text at 7, but it will be based on if we want to or not. Lastly, I'm not going to involve the seller in any of the negotiations of the contract, which has helped me have so much of my mental space back. Because before, when it's a busy
Yeah.
season, you're getting 20 offers on a property, and you have to call and talk to the seller about every single offer for 5 minutes, 20 minutes. You're spending
Yeah.
hours. I tell them real simple. We list your property on Thursdays. We have an offer cutoff on Tuesdays. I will be negotiating from Tuesday to Thursday, Tuesday to Wednesday. When I'm done negotiating and I feel like I've gotten all the juice out of the orange, I'm going to pop up for air. My assistant's going to send you a spreadsheet. It's going to have 3 columns on it. It's going to have original offer terms in white. It's going to have a yellow column, say RJC, Robert Colello's counter offer terms. And then it's going to have a blue offer, or a green. It's going to say new offer terms. Everything will move over from each column that's pertaining. You'll get to see the battle from a high view. And then when I call you, we're going to have it
Yeah.
ordered of tabs, highest to lowest. And I will talk to you about the highest offers. We'll take 10 or 15 minutes on Zoom. We will pick an offer. I'll congratulate you, and we'll get your home right in escrow. How does that sound? And they're like, wow. And if they ever give me pushback,
Yes.
Heather, I'm like, I usually say this to them, because this is the deal, guys. You are going to hear the same objections over and over again. If you're not catering, I'm going to put myself in it. If we don't cater our presentation to the objections we've gotten more than once, then shame on us. So once we get
Yeah.
it for a few times,
Right.
cater that presentation. So what now I say in my presentation for like the last decade, I'll say, hey, listen, I'm not going to involve you. I give them that whole spiel. And do you know why I don't involve you? And they're like, why? Because my hallucination is real simple. You've hired a neurosurgeon to do their surgery, and I know it's important. I know how to get it done efficiently and effectively. And if I bring you into the equation, you don't know anything about neurosurgery. You're going to ask me to cut the bottom of your foot to get to your head. And that's going to cause a lot of collateral damage. And a lot of agents operate this way. And that's why most of them sell about 3 homes a year. Me, on the other hand, I want
Yeah.
my core values is being productive, efficient, effective, profitable, and selfless. I really value your time. And I know I don't want to waste your time. You can be hanging out with your family. You've hired me to do a job, and I already know what you want. Do you know what you want? And they're like, what? You want the most amount of money for your house. You want it done without the least amount of aggravation. And you want that your grandmother's antique chandelier that we're sitting over this table right now. I'll make sure to negotiate all that for you. And you want to be able to stay here for 1 to 2 months after the close, so we can get you to Tennessee with no stress. Did I miss anything? And I smile at them, and they look at each other like, no, that's what we want. Cool. So I'm going to make sure you get that. And then I look forward to talking to you on Wednesday or Thursday after we go live. Does that sound good? And they're like, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so good. I love it. You're just dropping so much amazing, in on the ground sales information that I think people can use. Like you said, clients are not the expert, and I think there's a huge inversion of that in the industry, where agents become sort of Burger King order takers, and the clients are given all the autonomy to kind of run the race or run the show. And unfortunately, they don't have any of the legal knowledge. They don't have any of the contract knowledge, and they don't have the knowledge of having gone through a lot of contracts. And it's also that thing where a new agent also does not have that new contract knowledge, and maybe they're not coming from a position of understanding that sky high view, like you said, where they can see that there are pitfalls to letting the client run the show. But in fact, that's again the benefit of having the experience you've had, or any really experienced realtor, is that if they are doing not 4 transactions a year and they're doing 20, 30, 50, 80, 100, whatever, then they're going to have a very different level of expertise. I imagine you wouldn't want to jump on the plane that the pilot is still in flight school as well. And so this is so incredible what you've been able to sort of peel open for us and allow people to see, not just great analogies, but the real truth behind the whole thing, which is we really don't sell homes at all. We sell expertise and service. Chances are, every house that you see is the first time you're ever going to see it, and possibly the last. We're sort of a dating service for those houses, but instead, what really matters is the level of service that you can provide. And I absolutely love that you have talked about boundaries and being able to create a life and a lifestyle, because what's the point of earning 800,000 plus a year, or 200 or whatever, a million plus a year, any of those numbers, if you can't see the 4 children that you have, or go on a great vacation, or if you are, like you said, missing that 3-year-old birthday. And the thing is, kind of to that point, and I think this is a great opportunity on this question, which is, you and I talked briefly before we jumped on here about the fact that you largely have an all-female organization. And I really wanted our audience to hear a little bit about that, because, there are non-negotiables, right, to every great leader. And I'm curious, what are your non-negotiables behind building a business that lasts, especially one rooted in referrals, resilience, and reputation, but also in how do you build trust, build an organization, build clients to really want to work with you, and at the same time have an organization, perhaps all female in this case, except for your son who recently joined,
Yeah.
that also can have a life and can be there for their families, their children, and their own ability to have balance.
Oh, I love this. Okay. Yes. So our core values, real, like we have a statement, a mission statement. It's like literally we follow through before, during, and after the sale to completion. So our clients are rest assured all of their real estate needs are taken care of. See, most agents, the commission check gets cashed, they're done. And that's a standard with the team. Like, hey guys, we need to help them get the painters contracted. We need to help them with the flooring. Like, I had a client who ran Qualcomm's Apple account. It's $1 trillion account. He adopted 4 girls from Colombia. He called me up one day. It was about 2 months after the sale closed. And he said, Robert, I just want to be honest with you. I'm a little, disappointed in some things. I go, what are you disappointed in? He goes, you weren't that honest with me when we first met. I'm like, Steve, what are you talking about? He's like, all you did was talk about sales. And I'm like, okay. He's like, that's all he talked about. I go, well, Steve, I got you 96 grand more than your neighbor's house. Your neighbor's house on the market 20 days before your house was, and was on the home market 46 days after you sold. And it was a better house than yours. And I got you 200 grand off the purchase of your property from 2.1 million or 2.3 million to 2.1. I don't understand. Like, I did what I said. He goes, no, dude. He goes, how many commission checks did you get? I go, 2. He goes, I don't mean to be presumptuous, but I think they're already cashed, right? It's been 60 days. I go, yes. He goes, then I got to ask you a question. Why is my wife yelling at me because I'm bugging your assistant every day because she's helping GC all of our work in our new house, and you guys are making our life so easy? And he started laughing, and he goes, you have to tell people about your white glove service. You guys are amazing. Like, literally, we adopted 4 girls. I'm in the 4th quarter. It's the most extreme, complicated and stressful time every year. And you guys are literally managing 10 different contractors for us. Every day we're talking to you. And I know those checks have been cashed. He goes, that is amazing. He goes, you need to talk about your white glove service. So that's how our team shows up. And this is the deal though. That's white glove service for a client, which you need to have. If you don't do that, you're not going to get repeat clients, right? And think about this. What is
Yes.
the opportunity cost in that? Think about that. you sell one person one time, but they have the potential to give you 10 to 20 referrals over the lifetime. What is the opportunity cost by you not giving the white glove service? I want to give you a bigger opportunity cost loss. Your white glove service to your team. Meeting your team where they are. So as you said, Heather, yes, up until last year, I had predominantly for like the last decade an all girl team. I had my first assistant was a guy, my second assistant, and I had a director of operations. Outside of that, I've had all girls on my team. And one of the gals that came to my team, she just got married and she got pregnant about 2 years later, Andrea. She's now going on her third child. And when she first started with me, they had 2 dogs, and I let her take them on showing appointments because they were little Westchester pointers, and they would just sit in the car. Then she had kids, and what did we buy? My wife had a great idea for her baby shower. We got her baby Bajorn to wear to take her baby on on showings, and we just integrated. And I tell my clients, when you come work with us, you're part of the Robert Colello Associate family. And we're going to treat you like family. Yeah. Clients loved it. They loved little Davy and the little onesie thing holding. They were cool with it. She had a second baby. Bring the baby. Like I make an environment where it's family friendly. Now, obviously, if the kids are crying and screaming, it's messing with the client's white glove service. But you know what? It didn't. And you know what? She thanks me that she was able to be a mom, be able to have a career. And another thing we did too is encourage everybody in our team to have own homes. Get investment properties. My other showing specialist, Joy, she came to me renting. I helped her buy a property. I negotiated. And I have a rule on my team. Now, this is just our team. We have splits and everything for referrals and everything, but I don't take any commission from any property they buy. None. So when they buy a house, instead of giving me a fee, I'd rather them use that to upgrade the property or to do what they need to do because I value the relationship we have and I look at it as a relationship. I don't need to make an extra commission check on them or an extra referral. So I actually negotiated a contract with her on her first property. I even negotiated a $17,000 credit for a new roof. Then I got her out into her house. And then I'm like, now we're talking about the investment property and got her into an investment property. And now we're talking about another one. Like I want to create wealth for our team. I want our assistant who just came here from Houston and they sold their house there. I'm like talking to her about buying her next house. You know what I mean? And creating this family environment. Yeah. And speaking of Gabby has 2 young children. The other night, if I don't tell Gabby to leave the office, she won't leave the office. She's so committed. The other night we had something come in and I always like referrals to go out the same day. I said, Gabby, go home, have dinner with your family. I'll send the referrals real quick. Like as a leader, you have to understand you can push people to burnout. You can push people into a place where they're not going to be useful for their family or you. And what good is that? And you also, as a leader, have to train and teach your team. Like, for example, all text messages I'm CC'd on, right? So I saw Gabby talking over the weekend, talking late into the night to clients. On Monday, when we did our weekly 411 call with her, I said, hey, Gabby, I so appreciate your loyalty and commitment to the company and to the position and to me. Like I'm blown away. I just want to let you know something. I don't expect or want you to talk to somebody at 7:00 on a Saturday for 2 reasons. Number 1, it's going to burn you out and it's taken away from your family time. Number 2, we're teaching our clients bad behaviors where they think they're going to get a response at 7 and 8 o'clock. And guess what happens when you're not able to do that? Now they're going to get offended because we didn't hold the boundary. I did a good job setting it up in the appointments. We didn't hold the boundary. I need you to hold the boundary, not just for my benefit in the business, but more importantly for yours, because I just want to let you know something. I will never take advantage of your loyalty and your commitment because I know there's going to be nights where you do need to stay 1 hour, 2 hours, 30 minutes past your time, but I don't want that to be the norm. I want that to be the exception. And when you speak to your team like that, they know you care. And it's like what Jim Rohn said a long time ago, or maybe it was Theodore Roosevelt, or maybe it was Abraham Lincoln, but they said this line, nobody cares about how much you know until they know how much you care. So that you need to show that to your clients and you need to show that to your team. And when you do that, you're going to have fiercely loyal clients that are going to fight for you to get listings and tell you their family, don't deal with anybody but you. And you're going to have fiercely loyal team members. And when you have those 2 combinations, you're going to have amazing business.
Absolutely, absolutely so true. And just so important, I think, for the moment we're in as well, where people have this opportunity to deliver something really great and to show true caring. And as a leader, we talk so much about, how to get a customer and how to retain one. But, let's talk about how to be great leaders and make sure that the people under you are genuinely cared for. It is our prerogative, it is our job. And by the way, it's amazing business sense. It just absolutely makes great sense because as they are happy, as they are thriving, the level of production and longevity and everything that you have in those positions dramatically increases and changes for the positive for the business as well. So I know that our time is, nearing an end, and boy, what a dynamic conversation that this has been phenomenal. When you look ahead, and also what activities you're currently doing. What does the next chapter of building bigger mean for you now? What kind of legacy do you hope that your clients, team, and family experience because of the way you chose to lead? And also for our audience, if they want to learn from you, if they want to have more of this secret sauce and of the incredible wisdom that you've given us, what does that look like as well?
You know, I love legacy. Legacy is one of our like words, right? Aurora and me just came back, my wife, 25 years, going on 26. My life partner, my best friend, we just came back from a marriage. I call it like a retreat, a vision building in Montana with a famous Christian author and a
Oh,
publisher. And it wasn't to write a book. It was to get alone in an undistracted environment where we could dream together, where we could get clarity together, where we could get the next framework. Because believe it or not, I'm 46 years old. I'm going to be an empty nester. I have kids from 18 to 26 years old to be, and we're looking at the next phase in our
uh,
life. And the next phase is impact, more legacy. And we want to do that congruent with each other. So one of the things that we were challenged to do was create family values. And at first I'm like, family values, it sounds like for little kids. My kids are older. They go, no, no, no. These are 4 to 5 words that you have that you and your spouse overlay over all your decisions, your business decisions, your travel decisions, anything you're going to do. Does it match up? You know what? One of those words for me is legacy. One of those words for my wife is impact,
yeah.
right? We want to make sure what we're doing has impact, it has legacy. So we're actually looking at actually buying a cabin up in Big Bear to do retreats where we want to take entrepreneurs that might be burnt out, families that, are suffering because of the cost of success that wasn't done the right way and help them repair that. We want to take entrepreneurs that are getting everything they want out of life and just help them get to the next level. Do training events and things of that nature. I have a coaching company, okay, my tagline is helping take your life to the next level, right? To help you soar in all areas of
Yeah.
profit, and I'm passionate about that because what I really want to make sure is that when me and my wife look back, we look back at our life and we can know that our kids can see everything that we touched, all the things we did. Hey, they might not have been perfect, but the intention behind them was leading by example, leaving a legacy and something that they'd be proud about, that our grandchildren's grandchildren would look at and say, man, I'm glad that my grandmother Aurora, or as she wants to be called, Fabiosa, my wife's Colombian, so she wants to be called the fabulous grandma, and their grandfather stood for things that were more than just about money, that were more just about transaction. It was about relationship. It was about transparency,
Yeah.
transformation, and it honored God. As Christians, I believe that we're going to go see our maker one day and he's going to say, hey, I gave you a certain rule, a certain set of gifts and abilities. What did you do with them? And one of my favorite quotes is
Yeah.
from a woman, Emily. And I'm looking at it right now. And it says, when I stand before God at the end of my life, I would hope that I would have not have a single bit of talent left. And I could say I used everything you gave me. And I look at that every day in my office, that I used everything you gave me. So I feel like the next season is impact. We've created, we've created ability, success. Now we're going to significance. We've created a business that has great velocity, tons of profitability, great impact in our community, a lot of success. Now we're moving into significance, legacy building. So we're going to do that through the trainings that I offer. And at the end of this, you're going to have an opportunity to get to know me better. There'll be a link you can click on. I actually have a free buyer's guide I'll give you, which is the whole outline of how I run an appointment. I'll get you on newsletters. And I'm going to actually be speaking in Denver next month. When I get back from our family, we're going down to Puerto Vallarta with my family for spring break to a beautiful 4 or 5-star hotel down there to get a little relaxation. And then I leave and go to Denver to speak. And I'm going to offer them. So I'm going to give you a little sneak peek. I'm offering them a free 60-minute training because I can't give you everything that I have over 21 years on, 20-minute podcast, 60-minute podcast, a 45-minute speaking engagement. So if you sign up on my newsletter, I will invite you to the free training. In the free training, I'm really going to impact more tactical and practical ways to expand your business, because I did pray before I got on this call that just if one person heard something I had to say that can affect their family's legacy, I did my job. Like if just one thing that I said, like you said, Heather, there's like some real boots on the ground kind of stuff you said. Yeah, I always want to bring value to when I speak, not just hypothecation, not just inspiration. I want to give you gas in a car so you can get in the car, but you need gas to go somewhere in the car. And I'll give you the driver's manual too. So not only do you know how to get somewhere in the car, you know how to do it as efficient as possible and take advantage of all the features that this car has. And you think of yourself as the car. God is giving you unique features. And I believe my gifting is being an exalter of men and women to call out those giftings and bring them into existence through training, through inspiration, and just really making you dig down deep and challenge. And is what I'm going for a stress to get to the next level because that's what God has me do? Or is it going to cause burnout? Or is it going to cause breakthrough? Not everything you're going after is going to cause breakthrough. Some of it's going to cause burnout. It's another B, and you don't want to go there. We want breakthroughs, not burnout. So these are the ways people can get engaged in these things we're passionate about. My wife's equally passionate about these things, and she's a health and wellness expert. And together we give a holistic approach, because if you're not taking care of the integrated person, and she's someone you should really have on your podcast sometime too. She's a powerhouse, Robert Colello, powerhouse. If you don't take care of your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health, your financial health, your familial health, I call it faith, family, fitness, finance, and future. You're only taking care of usually your finance. You're only taking care of, maybe your future. You're missing these other things. You're going to be lump-sided, and it will cause grief, anxiety, burnout in the future. So we're really, really, really committed in helping people. And I'm not coming from a place telling you that we always got it right. Why do I know that's so important? Because I didn't get it right a lot. And it made me lean into these areas. And like I said in the beginning of the podcast, standing on the shoulder of a giant doesn't mean the giant is better than you. It just means a giant is like, don't make these dumb mistakes I made early on or any part in the career. Go this way. And that's insights. One of my superpowers is being transparent, because I believe transparency brings transformation. I don't ever want to make anybody feel bad about themselves because they think I'm something I'm not. Listen, you're seeing the after. I got to say this right before I spoke before Ed Milet, not this year, last year in Cabo. And I got to say this, you're seeing the after. You didn't get to see the middle or the during. You're seeing the after. But because you're seeing the after, I can tell you about the middle and the during and things that didn't work well and things that did work well and help you shortcut.
So perfect. And what an amazing firecracker way to end. I just love this. Well, Robert, I just can't thank you enough for sparing your valuable time. This was an extraordinary opportunity to talk with you, to learn from you, to hear you be able to share not just, like you said, hypothecating and history, but on the ground, real usable tools that I know for a fact everyone here has been able to use. And your impact of this episode is so special. Audience, if you can please stay tuned, we will go through our recap of the wisdom that he has given us and your worksheet so that you can apply these many of these tips in your own lives and careers. And again, Thank you so much, Robert.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
Absolutely. Well, folks, that's it for today's podcast. Thank you so much for joining Women Who Rise, the success podcast for ambitious women. Today, Robert taught us, number one, to be successful in business. He heard it first from his father numerous times. It takes patience and hard work. And when you are willing to cut and run or having a really difficult time, ask yourself, are you doing both of those things, or are you perhaps lacking one of them? If you are doing the hard work consistently, are you really doing that with longevity and purpose? And by the way, are you being impatient? Are you not recognizing that in building a business from the ground up, or perhaps after a difficult period in sales or whatever it is, you have to have the patience to see what you've built, how far you've come so far, and also where you're trying to take that, what is the trajectory, and understand that if you've got a line going like this, don't interrupt it here. Understand that you have the opportunity to keep going. Number two, know your numbers. So Robert had a coach that talked about taking his annual income and dividing that by the number of calls made. And it gave him numbers that in fact shocked him at the time. And he realized how critically important those calls were, how critically important the time that he was using to make those calls really was, and what the true opportunity cost was if he decided to let something interrupt that morning calling time. And for him, those were the hours of 9 to 12. This is not new. It's not rocket science. It's understanding you've got to stick to the basics. You've got to do them well. You've got to master them. He even talked about scripting, knowing it really well, and just understanding how can you talk through objections? What are the things you can be saying? And just doing that with, the big money, understanding that the big money is in doing that with diligence and regularity, and not losing patience during that marathon, whatever that is, each day or throughout the years, and just understanding there are benefits in the longevity of continuing to do the right plan for whatever type of business you are in. Number three, he talked about setting standards and expectations way out in front at that first client meeting, and educating your clients about those and holding true to them. He talked about the gentleman who came in with a briefcase full of cash and said, I will not do a contract with you for a buyer's agency, meaning that he wanted to see houses just the one time. And he said, I'm sorry, sir, I don't work that way. And, let him go. And this actually allowed him to be able to have the growth and the success and the experiences he did, because he was able to say, these are my lines, these are my standards. I need to be a process person, and I need to hold true to it. And then fourth, he talked about, you are the pilot. Stop being the stewards in real estate or in whatever business it is. Know your value, know and value your own time, and ensure that others do as well. And really understand that if you are the pilot, you shouldn't be getting out of that chair and, doing stewardess level work, in the plane. Your job is to make sure and guard that job and be that thing as successfully and as knowledgeably and consistently as possible, because they are counting on you for that. And so if you're letting them call you all day long, if you're, having assistant level work, that's something that you could maybe have an assistant for, whatever that job is. Be thinking about staying in your zone of genius, valuing your time, and letting your clients know what, in fact, that value is and why it's so critical and important to keep you in that spot for them. So that's it for today. Please visit our website to find our episode guide and worksheet that will help you use these tips to take action in your own life. Please like and subscribe and join us everywhere podcasts are streamed. We can't wait to bring you in more incredible content every week so that you can rise in your own lives and careers. And again, thank you so much. Heather Mansy signing off.